One of the great things about my book, which I should say, if you don't already own a copy, I'm sure you can find a local bookshop that delivers, even in the midst of the current crisis. One of the great things about my book is the way that it cuts backwards and forwards between different scenes of action. Game of Thrones, eat your heart out, and all that unity of time and place nonsense. No, the point is, even when you're in the middle of a dramatic, important sequence of events, even when you're caught up with their significance and the question of how is this going to play out, there is always something else going on elsewhere. Fundamental historical principle. Events run in parallel and affect one another. So, one absolutely crucial thing to keep in mind, don't just focus on your own situation. Pay attention to elsewhere, because who knows what is going to come out of elsewhere to bite you in due course. Now, case in point, today's question. What's going on in Hungary? Now, of course, in my day, there was no such thing as Hungary. It's a great big empty space full of barbarians. But I believe that over the centuries, they have developed institutions of politics and civil society and, other trappings of the civilized life. Until now. Because what we find now is apparently a determination to return to barbarism. Under their leader, they have effectively voted to undermine their own system. Now, I once used the phrase, talking of Athens in my day, that what was in name a democracy was in fact the rule of one man. And for some reason, people seem to think I meant this as a good thing. On the contrary, or certainly not as a general principle. Now, it's true, I have certain concerns about the operation of democracy. Not perhaps the principle that every citizen should have a say in the government of the city, but the basic problem of judgment, because not every citizen will have read my book, and so they might make unwise decisions. They might not properly evaluate their situation. And until everyone has viewed this series of videos and understood what my work has to say, then giving everyone a say is always a little bit risky. But giving one man a say, well, you've got to be extremely confident in their judgment. And I have to say, there I would be even more sceptical. Yes, the Hungarian political system has agreed to do this. This happened in Athens as well, to some extent. In the face of a crisis, you can get people to agree to anything, even to abolish their own rights. But it is undoubtedly dangerous. It puts you in the hands of somebody else who certainly doesn't have your interests foremost in his mind. And there's another dangerous development, perhaps an even more dangerous development. One hears of the education of the citizens. The proposal that only certain works should be considered in the schools, and mine, I hear, not among them, but also a number of quite fine, more recent authors stricken from the list and replaced with works that essentially present a deluded, mythical, unquestioning view of the glories of the nation, the essential rightness of strong leaders. Now, this is a fundamental error. It is true, again, I have to admit my scepticism, it is true that most people do not take the trouble to inquire critically into stories about the past or about anything else. They believe any old rubbish that happens to suit their prejudices. See the Athenians and their story of the glorious tyrannicides. This is not something to be encouraged. People need to be encouraged to think, to question. They need to be given the truth about the past, not a version of the past that happens to suit the people in power. So for both of these reasons, I would say once again, pay attention to what's going on elsewhere. If you think that your government is introducing rather a lot of oppressive restrictions on human freedom in the name of stopping the crisis, well, that's understandable. But there is, you might say, a slippery slope. There is the point where the decision to suspend normal laws may be not justified. It may be taking the opportunity to seize power, to make what is still, in name, a democracy, the rule of one man, and that never ends well.